Hi. I'll tell you why I'm laughing in a second. Hang on. Sometimes I'm a silly man. I'm just this is kind of funny. Hi, welcome to Daily Fuel. Welcome to the replay. My name is Bobby, and have you noticed Daily Fuel was a little dark the last couple of times? I've been wondering, like, why does it seem so much darker than usual? And see, I've got this light right here, right? And I use this light during the day to kind of just be a light in the room since it's here. Except it's got two switches, and I only turn on one switch during the day just to kind of give some light to the room. But when I start Daily Fuel, I turn on the other switch so that all the lights on to light up for the show. And I'm kind of like, well, I don't understand why it's not as bright as it usually used to be. And so I just looked right as I turned on the light. I'm sitting here thinking, like, this just doesn't feel as bright, you know? And I looked inside because it's got like a white, you can't see it, but it's got like a white film over it. So I can't actually. Anyway, I looked behind the film and the bulbs for the second switch aren't even in there. I took them. So every day I'm like turning on the light and there are no bulbs. The bulbs help. You got to have bulbs. Anyway, so that's Daily Fuel for today. If you would like to turn on the light, you have to have a light bulb in the lamp. Anyway, let's see who we got. We got if you're watching in the replay, give me a comment. Hashtag replay. I didn't think of one. I got to think ahead of time. Anyway, let's see. Jesse's here. Hello. Well, hello, Jesse. So today, Jesse, is the question you said. How do we light up? How do we light up the shadows? That's what I'm going to talk about today. And ironically, I just realized you gotta have a light bulb in the light if you're gonna light up. The light doesn't work without light. Evening. How are you? How are you feeling, by the way? How are your knees? I hadn't asked you that in a while. Hope you're doing okay. And Christina's here. Hey, Bobby and company. See, people, that's how you say hello. You say hello to me first, and then everybody else. Okay. Oh, well. If you're watching live, you can comment the whole time. I'm going to go through my spiel and I'm going to ignore all the comments. But when I'm done with my thing, I'm going to come back. I'm going to read all the comments, and that's how Daily Fuel works. And Barbara's here. Hey, Barbara, how you doing? Hey, Bobby. Hey, everyone. Light. There you go. Nice. I like that. Nice to see you, Barbara. Okay, let's get started, shall we? It's 3 minutes. Wow. Okay, let's go. Light up the dark. Light up the dark. Yeah, light bulbs help, that's for sure. Gotta have light bulbs. Okay, light up the dark. So we have been talking all week about the fear of success, and you may recall on if you didn't see any previous, don't worry about it. I'm gonna give you a recap real quick. Today's the meat and potatoes, the nuts and bolts. I almost said nuts and potatoes. Nobody wants that. Right, so here's a recap for you. So we've been talking about the fear of success, and something that I have noticed in my life. I'm just there is a little more to my story today that came out in my. You may know that I do my Friday call with my buddy Landon, and I had that call today, and I told him what we've been talking about, and man, did some shit come out of this call. So here's the deal, right? I have known I have a fear of success my entire career, and it's been fairly obvious, but everywhere I was digging for it, it was kind of hard to find, because I would think like, well, maybe it's a money issue, but it's not that. You know, I'd go through all the money affirmations and meditations and all the things, and I'd be working on it just fine, and I'd just be like, none of these are it. I can feel that I don't have any of these beliefs or problems. You know, like a lot of people think like money is the root of all evil, or people who have money are bad, or they have to get it a bad way, or having money. I don't believe any of that stuff. It's like none of that. If you do, it's a thing. I'm not saying it's not a thing or that's a stupid thing to have. I'm saying that I don't have that. But every time I would feel like the money is the thing, I would go to those, because when people talk about money issues, those are the things they talk about. And I'm just like, it's not it. There's something underneath it, or it's a different thing. It's like money adjacent or something, and it kind of goes back to this time when I'll just recap the story quick in case you missed it on Wednesday, but there's a little bit more to the story, so it's worth hearing it again. So when I was younger, we grew up in middle class America. If you've ever heard of Levittown, the Levitt houses for the GIs coming back from the war, World War II, and it was like I grew up right there, Long Island. That's where I grew up, and it was all middle class white America, and everybody was blue collar. My dad was a cop and all that kind of stuff. And so, and it was a nice childhood. We grew up and it was what it was, but I always knew, we all kind of get like money issues and stuff from our parents because you see them trying to frustrated paying the bills and shit like that. And so I always thought like I just grabbed some of those things, but I've gotten over them over the years, but still it persisted. And the interesting thing that happened to me was that when I was getting into college age, my parents had always wanted to find ways to get richer, and they did, and how they did it or what happened is completely irrelevant. But they suddenly got more money than they usually had, and they started to do things, and they got cars, and they fixed up the house, and they were making plans to buy a business, and all this stuff was happening, and it was exciting. It was a very exciting time. I remember it. It was like, and I knew that it was like a culmination of a dream come true. Like, here it was. This was finally happening. And then my mother got sick. She got cancer. And that was like the end of the party. And in my mind, I saw this from young eyes. I wasn't a child, but I wasn't really an adult yet either. So I saw this happening, and now in my memory, it's like it happened over the course of 3 days. It's like, yay, we got all this money. And she said like, whoa, yay. It's like, oh, I don't feel good. Oh, I'm sick. And that was it. It was like, oh, I guess, well then, and then we just got rid of the money, it seemed. So it was like you finally got it and bad things happened, and then you lost it. So we were talking about that in yesterday's Daily Fuel, where sometimes the fear of success emanates from this feeling that the price is too high, that I'd rather stay down here than climb all the way up to fall down, or that if I do get up on this pedestal, then the price I have to pay is that people are going to hate me, or that I have to sell out, or anything that you feel is that price. For me, as I've learned from doing this work, is that the price that was too high for me was that if I were successful, I would lose my legacy. Now, on Wednesday when I said this, what I said was that if I get all this money, I'm going to get cancer and die. And that was true. Except today I learned that there was another step to it. And because I kind of saw... Now, this is my own perception, okay, and my own desires out of life. What I saw happen to my family was that I feel like my family was never the same again. We had the first 20 years of my life where we grew up as this tight-knit bunch. Like, people called us the Brady Bunch. Like, we were really tight, and me and my siblings, we were very, very tight. And we still are. We still love each other, but we're not like that. We're not like intense parts of each other's lives anymore, which I never really understood why, because I feel like my mom was the glue that held everything together. And so what I saw happen was, and the events are irrelevant. What I saw happen was this thing happened, and in my mind, it seemed like the family fell apart. Now, I have equated success not really with money per se, as like my goal in life isn't to just be rich. I have equated success, and if you've been listening to Daily Fuel for any amount of time, I always say, like, my wife and I, we had a plan, and we wanted to be home for our children, and we wanted to, I wanted a business at home so that I could be here to put them on the bus every day, and it was like, that was our goal, and it wasn't so much like it had to be this kind of house, or this kind of town, or this kind of money, or this kind of car. All of that was secondary, and yeah, we want the nice stuff, but the most important part was that we were living the way we wanted to live. And for the most part, we did. We were successful at that. But I saw this legacy as this ongoing thing in my life where where now my children would grow up and then they would have families, and I wanted to see the family just grow and grow and grow with my wife and me like at the top of this pyramid of people, you know, and I saw that fall apart for my parents. From my perspective, I'm not saying that my parents thought it fell apart. I'm just saying, like, the way I envisioned the perfection, I saw disintegrate after my mom got sick. And so I have equated that if we get that money, that I'm going to get cancer and probably die, and my entire legacy will disintegrate and be nothing. And now, as I say that out loud, I know that that's just not true. I don't actually believe that. But I have come to figure out that the thing that I have been believing as the basis of my life and career has been something along those lines. So that's what the fear of success looks like. It's kind of silly and ridiculous when you say it out loud. It's not a true thing, but it's like a thing that you pick up somewhere and it gets manipulated and twisted in your brain, and it becomes the programming. It just becomes the programming. And so I would never allow myself to get higher than a certain point because I equated that unconsciously. If I get higher than this point, I will get cancer. I will die. The legacy will be over. That'll be it. Game over. But I don't want that. I'd rather live in mediocrity than have that. You know, so as I said, and this is just a recap of the rest of the week. As I said, 80% of the work here is identifying that that's your thing, whatever your thing is, you know. So the work that you have to do first is to identify what it is. Now, the light up the dark part, that's what we're going to talk about today. That's not the next 20%, it's the 100%, because 80% of it is identifying. So how do we do this? So here are my 3 things, and I'm sorry for the long run up to this, but here we go. Number 1 is to prime the pump. This is we have to remember that our ability to do energy work, our ability to do this kind of work, it's not just something we can decide, oh, I'm going to get back to doing that now, and like on day 1 you're like, you know, I'm a pro at this. We have to prime the pump. We have to exercise a bit. If you decide to start working out again and go to the gym, you can't just do what you used to do when you were 20 on day 1 when you're 35. You've got to build up to it again. But if you do build up to it again, then eventually you can do a lot every single day, you know? So we have to prime the pump. We have to exercise the light. The light doesn't work. Well, first you got to put the bulbs in, but the light doesn't work if you don't exercise the light. You have to warm it up. You have to get it going, and you have to get its juices flowing, because it's an energy thing, you know? You got to prime the engine. Whatever metaphor you like, pick a metaphor. It's got to be primed. You have to keep working it. And if you stop working it, it won't go away. It'll go into storage, but when you come back to it, it's not going to be boom on day 1. You gotta elevate it again, you know. But we can start today if you haven't been doing it, or you can keep doing it again today. And it just looks like doing all the energy work things, the meditation every day, the time jumping, that's where you talk to your future self and ask what the feeling of that future is. All of these things you can ask your inner being for guidance. Maybe you know what your thing is. Maybe you don't, you know, maybe you feel like I think I've got like some kind of fear of success, but I don't know what it is or where it's coming from. You can ask your source, your inner being, your soul, your higher self, what the fuck is it? Just tell me what it is, you know? Now, you're not going to get a note in the mail that says, oh, your thing is this. You're not going to get that. I don't know why they don't do that. If I had designed Source Energy Land, that's how it would work, but it doesn't work that way. Instead, you're going to get little things, right? You're going to get impulses to go do things, and those things might start off really small, like the whole, you know, go to the park and take a walk. Those kind of things. They just might be the relaxing things at first, because your inner being knows you're not going to find the solution when you're so focused on the problem. So by doing the energy work every day, priming that pump, you're getting the light revved up. and you're slowing down the momentum of being so problem focused, because I was very problem focused. I have to figure out how to raise myself up in my business and get more money. Clearly I have a money problem, so I'm going to work on this, and I'm going to learn how budgeting works, and I'm going to understand taxes better, and I would do all this shit, and then I'd be like, none of this is it. This isn't it. I already understand this stuff. I would take courses on marketing and branding and be like, I teach this fucking shit. I know this fucking shit. How come it's not getting me higher than this? You know? This is why. I had a belief that if I got higher than this, I'd be dead. So what did I do? I didn't go higher than that. It had nothing to do with any of the stuff I was working on. It was that. You know, but I would have never figured that out had I not been priming this pump for the past year. I'm not saying it has to take a year, but I've been working on this for a while now. I started this group to figure this out. I've been saying a long time, I started this group. I don't know why I started this group. I just had an impulse to start a Facebook group. Here we are, and this is why. So thank you, by the way, for that. So ask for guidance. Ask for help. Ask your source, I would like to find the answer. Please share it with me. And that's step one, is prime the pump. Ask for help. Trust. Wait, no, that's step two. Now, step two is talking to your source more, right? You can start asking questions like, ask why a lot. Ask, is this true? Yesterday I said to Christina, if you say the things you believe out loud, you can ask yourself, is this true? Do I really believe this, or is this something I picked up along the way? And now I'm telling you my story with some of the details of my past. I'll be honest with you, the details of my past are irrelevant. It doesn't matter that it had anything to do with my mom or my parents or anything. It's just that because that thing happened, I picked up this weird belief. I've been carrying that around for decades now. So, it has nothing to do with that anymore. It's just a thing that I have programmed in my head and have kept going. So you don't have to do a genealogy. You can do anything you want, but you don't have to do you don't have to check your DNA or talk to all your relatives and, hey, what happened with Uncle Frank that day? It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You can just think about how you feel and reflect on it a bit and just ask, is this true? Is this really how I feel? Is this how the adult in me feels? Because usually these fears are because the child in you saw something and went, oh, I don't want that, and was like, I'm going to build up a barrier here and not let that happen to me. But now you're the adult and you don't have to believe that anymore. You don't have to worry. That wall doesn't have to be there anymore. Allow your energy, your source, your inner being to give you the answer and trust that it will. But this takes a little bit of time and patience because I don't know what you're like, but when I think of these things and I was like, I'm going to ask my source for help. What the fuck's the answer? It's like, I want it now. I don't want to know to go for a walk in the park. I don't want to know to take a nap or watch a movie or do this or go do that. I don't want to know any of that shit. I want the answer now, They don't work that way. So trust that the answer is coming. Trust that the answer is actually right in front of your face. You're just not in energy alignment to see it yet. So you have to keep priming that pump, keep doing that energy work every day, and then all of a sudden somebody will say something, a thing will happen, and you'll start putting the pieces together and be open to seeing those pieces and what they are, and be open to the idea that you might get a piece here and a piece there and they're still not the whole answer, but praise the Lord that you got the piece. Just be appreciative, that you got the piece. Number 3 is our secret weapon, our superpower, our ability that most mere mortals do not have, and that is your art. You can dive into your art to do a few different things. One is you can dive into your art to get your head off of this crap. Because when your head is in it, when your head is trying to, if I just talk to my inner being, then the inner being will tell me the problem, then I'll figure out what it is, and then I can figure out a solution. Guess what that is? That's problem oriented. You are looking for answers everywhere, and they're just not going to be where you're looking. They are not there. But if you can do the priming the pump thing, that's the energy work, that's number one, then that takes your mind off of it. But so does art. Art will take your brain off of this stuff, because then all of a sudden it's just gonna pop up. You're going to see it, you're going to understand it, and it might be piece by piece, but it's going to happen. You just have to find a way to not be so impatient about it. You just have to find a way to not be focused on the problem. Being focused on the problem makes the problem keep going, because you're just telling the universe, problem, and the universe is going, okay. The universe is just an echo in a canyon. You yell out problem, and the universe just echoes it right back. Problem. And you're like, what the fuck? I don't want the problem. I said problem. You're supposed to say, solution. I say Marco, you say Polo. But you say Marco, the universe just says Marco right back at you. It's annoying, but it's how it works. We have to play the game as it is. It can lead you to the solution through creation. That's one way we can use art. The other way we can use art is as a kind of a pattern interrupt. Now, one of the things that I said today when I was talking to Landon was that I realized that I created this equation. I have an analytical side to my mind. It's this side, I guess. And that's where my 14-year-old, my ego, my tinkerer lives. It's the analytical engineering math part of me. And it's like I've got this equation that money plus health equals my legacy. And that's like a very simplified version of it. But I saw my legacy, this big family life that I'm trying to build, the whole thing of what success is to Bobby. I saw it as kind of a jigsaw puzzle or a collection of parts. And I'm allowed to put all the parts in except one, because if I don't put one part in, then the whole thing's not there, and I don't get cancer and die and disintegrate. So the ego picked money, because that's the one that my parents got, that when my parents finally got the money, now everything we've ever wanted as a family was right here. Got sick, and that was the end of that, So I'm like, well, fuck that. I'm not doing that shit. I don't want to get sick. So I just said, okay, well, I can have the whole puzzle except for money. That works. And the interesting thing is that I've always had fine. I've never had issues with health. I've never had issues with my relationships. I've never had issues with my kids. I've never had issues with any other thing. In fact, I've always believed like I can't just walk out the door and get hit by a bus. That's not how the law of attraction works. I'm not going to just find out I got cancer one day. I'm going to get a cold, and I'm going to get this, and I'm going to notice this, and I'm going to get this, and it would build up, and I would have to really be like persistent in my resistance to get cancer. That's how it would work for me. And now I realized, well, of course I can't get cancer, because I can only get cancer when I get the money. And I have to prove to myself that I can't get the money by not getting cancer or some equivalent of that. Because if I were to someday just all of a sudden get cancer, that means all this stuff I believed my whole life was bullshit. And my ego can't have that either. It just goes to show that everything you see is something you've built. Everything around you is your fault. Everything around you, I hate to say it that way, but it's true. Everything around you, you built it. You created it. You're persisting it. Everything. There's nothing that you can look at or experience that you didn't do. We're unbelievably powerful. But this is how we do it, because there are things in our brains that are working against us. My wife said today, she saw this thing and said, your ego is not your amigo. Right? It's like, so how do we shine the light? We got to prime that pump. We have to work with our inner being, and we have to use our art as our secret weapon to work through it. The light is really just knowledge. It's just the final piece to this is that shining the light on the dark shadows in your life is just an acknowledgement that it exists. Once you shine a light on a thing, now you can see it. Oh, there's that thing. Just knowing that it's there is shining the light. It can only live in the dark. It can't live in the light, because when you say these things out loud, if you were to write them down, if you were to say, I have to teach you this thing now, if I got up here and said, by the way, if you get too much money, you're going to get cancer and disintegrate into non-existence, you would all think I was a loon, and I would think I was a loon. I was like, why am I saying this? I don't believe this. This is ridiculous. So now that I'm shining a light on this belief, this program in my head, I can see that it's silly. I can see that it was something that my brain made up to protect me when I saw a terrible thing happen in my youth. I needed that in the moment to figure out how to deal with the stress of this situation of my mom getting sick, but I don't have to deal with that anymore. That was 30 years ago. I don't have to deal with that anymore. But I've carried it through, and I have applied that lesson to everything I've done since. And that's what we all do. We learned something somewhere along the way. We created a weird, convoluted logic around it to protect ourselves from the trauma. But then we applied that lesson to every other thing in our lives. You shine a light on it. Shining the light on it just means I now acknowledge what it is. I learned this thing. I thought this way. I've applied that to everything else. That's why I'm here. I don't have to be here anymore. I don't have to believe that anymore. I don't have to apply that lesson anymore. It's not necessary. And that's how you shine the light. It's just acknowledgement and bless it. Just be like, you know what? Thanks for protecting me back then. It's not necessary anymore. I'm stronger now, and that monster's not here anymore. Or do what I said with Christina yesterday. Parent that child. Pretend that your ego is your child. And your child comes to you and says, I believe there's a monster in my closet. Would you go, holy shit, we got to sell the house and get the fuck out of here. There's monsters in the closet. Or would you take them by the hand and open the closet door and shine a light in there and say, see, honey, there's no monster here. Oh, thanks. Your ego's a kid. If you can shine the light and show the ego that there's no monster there, the ego will believe you. That's it. The ego's not the monster. It's the little kid that believes in monsters. That's what I should have called this one. Okay, let's go to the comments and see what kind of essays. Jesus, look at these essays. Okay, so Jesse is here, and Ray, and Christina, and Barbara, and he's Robin. Robin's here. Hello, Bobby, and hello, all of everyone. All of everyone. Not just everyone, but all of everyone. Am I live? Yep, you are. Oops, you forgot the flowers. That's okay. Thank you for the flowers. Appreciate it. Barbara says, hang on, Barbara. I need some water after that. I need some water. Hang on. Haha, Levittown. I lived on Cord Lane. Oh, that's funny. I don't know where Cord Lane is. I didn't actually live in Levittown, but Levittown is the one everybody knows. I lived one town over in Hicksville. Nobody knows where that is, but everybody's heard of Levittown because it was named after the guy, whatever his name, Abe Levitt, the guy who designed those houses and built them with Robert Moses, and they were a bunch of weirdos. Anyway, so I lived in the A section. Do you know where the A section is on Levittown Parkway? That was where I lived, in Hicksville. Ray says the wet weather plays havoc with them. My knees. Oh, my knees. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I don't know what you... It's like, what? The wet weather plays havoc with who? The ego? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? In case it's an hour before you read this. Oh, man, that made my contact lens move. Oh, man, it shifted. It's like in the back of my eyeball now. I got to deal with that for the rest of this live. Oh, well, that's... and you forgot what you asked. Thank you. That's funny. But with nicer weather, I can't see out of this eye now, so I'm going to be like this the whole time, guys. Sorry. I can't see. Oh, my God. This is funny. Everything's blurry now. No, hang on. But with the nice weather on the way, I'm sure the knees, hips, etc. will be much better. Thank you for asking, and I hope all out there in the amusement park are well, and that the spooky dark rides are just scary enough to open your eyes. Do you wear contact lenses? Sometimes they shift on your eyeball, and they're supposed to sit right in the front here, but sometimes they just go, nah, I'm going over here. And they're like way in the back or down here or something like that, and they fold over on each other, and they go like way in the back, you know? All right. This resonates, but in another way, says Barbara. There's a picture of Barbara because everybody wants to know what she looks like. This resonates, but in another way. I managed to... That's a nice crown, tiara? What do you call that? I like that. Very nice. Okay. This resonates, but in another way. I managed to find success with my art after many, many years. I didn't think I deserved it. I felt like I should stay down where I belonged. Yeah, this is a different kind of fear of success, but yes. Once I realized that's not my actual truth, it's programming, I broke out of a headspace and grew. However, in another way, I fear success in another way. Having a healthy relationship with someone. I fear I'll lose it once I get it. Yeah. And I don't know. I didn't know that until now. I've got some more inner work ahead of me, and I embrace this because I know I'm worthy and I know that nothing is forever, but I can certainly enjoy a healthy, amazing relationship in each moment I am experiencing it. In the moment, how have I been living more and more recently? How I have been living more and more recently. In the moment, right? You've been living in the moment more. What will happen if I get it and lose it? Nothing. I'll be okay. I know this is my truth. It'll be all okay. I am trying not to attach myself to an external outcome. That's interesting, Barbara. So you've had different levels of fear of success, right? I fear I didn't deserve it, but you overcame that. That's great. So that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about realizing what the trigger is in your own head, the programming that you have, the belief that you have from somewhere, that you picked it up somewhere. And the problem is we don't have a manual. We can't let me look in the Bobby book. Oh, it says here when I was 19 years old, this thing happened and I believed this and then that became part of my programming. Oh, okay. That book doesn't exist. So we have to figure it out. But you know who knows is your inner being, your source, your big you, yourself. We try to figure it out in our little meat suit here. We're like, let me think about this. And we can't. And we're so problem focused that the problem just persists. But your inner being knows exactly what it is that you're thinking and is just like, hey, you don't have to think that thing anymore. Just come over here. And if we listen, we can hear it. But the problem is we're not listening half the time. But so now you've got this thing about like is it not deserving to be? Well, no, it's not. You said that you're worried that if you were to get the relationship you want, you would lose it. And that kind of goes along with what we were talking about yesterday. Like if I get too high in success, I might fall. It could be the same thing. If I gain this thing that I want, I might lose it. And sometimes the belief is, well, it's better to not have it than to get it and lose it. You know, and that's a tough belief to get over, because you might say that and be like, well, I don't believe that, because we don't usually believe that for real. But somewhere in Barbara's brain, that was programmed in from something. And I don't know that it's important to figure out the exact thing that made it happen. I just happened to think of mine, you know, but I don't know that that's what's really important. The important thing is that I figured out what it is, you know. And that once I can articulate that, and once any of us can articulate it, that's the shining a light on it. That's what it is. Oh, I have this belief that if this happens, I'll lose it. Now you know what it is. So practice not believing that. Thanks for sharing that, Barbara. Trusting inner being. Yes, I am also impatient. Yeah, I think we all are. I have to always work on my connection to source. We should start a club. Christina says, hi, Christina. The trauma I went through is definitely the main reason for the false beliefs I carry with me. I do believe in myself to an extent. I was mentally beat down so badly because I surrounded myself with the wrong people, and I didn't let go of the childhood teachings of you'll be a failure and you'll never make it from my dad, that until recently led every decision I made in fear, right? A lot of this comes from parents or teachers or people that, you know, at times when we were impressionable and had people in some kind of authority over us, either telling us something or experiencing something that we were observing. In my case, in your case, they were saying it to your face. You know, they can both be detrimental. And then, like you said, now you're making every decision after that in the light of this lie that you'll be a failure and you'll never make it. I no longer want to identify with these false beliefs. For me, success at the moment, now after some reflection last night after yesterday's live, is to heal my inner child and raise my kids in a better belief system than what I have held for myself all of these years. See, I like that, because if you can practice, like, what would I teach my children, and start doing that, then you might realize, gee, obviously I want to teach my kids this thing, but I was taught the opposite of this, or I learned a lesson the opposite of this somehow, or I realize I'm kind of like fighting some weird inner program when I tell them this. I know it's true, but some part of me is going like, oh, the opposite of that. And we can get the hints. We can find the hints. We just have to be open to them. Good one, Christina. Barbara says, so glad I was able to get in here today. I don't feel so alone. This is my message for today. Go with the flow, go downstream, not struggle to paddle upstream. Success is available right here, right now. It is. Absolutely it is. I just realized I never lost anything I ever asked for that was good and got. Right? All I ever truly lost was something that was not good for me, and this encourages me to keep my heart open. Well, that's interesting, Barbara. Because I never was unsuccessful at getting anything that I really valued either. Like, everything that I really, truly value, I've gotten, and I've been a success at. That's a good point. Thanks for that. And I bet most of us can say that if we really think about it. Yes, thank you. I made that crown. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's nice. Been working on peeling back the layers. Where did this fear come from? Lots of things. Abandonment is one. Yeah, so if you have this abandonment thing, you may have a fear of abandonment, and now you're putting up blockades to not let people in because of that fear of abandonment. I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you, but that's an example of what we can do. This thing happened, it made me fear this, and now I will never put myself in that situation again. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I can only say what I'm doing. It's like I experienced this thing. It made me have this fear. And so I now will never put myself in a situation where that fear could come to life again. But when I say it out loud, it's ridiculous because my fear doesn't make any sense. I'm afraid of this monster that I saw. But I don't even know that I saw a monster. I saw a thing happen from my own perspective, and then made up all the details of it in my brain. That's what we do. Well, guys, thank you very much for hanging out with me today and commenting and sharing. We've been sharing a lot of deep things here, but Barbara, you can have the booby prize. I won't take it away. Even if anybody comments after this, Barbara, I promise I will not take the booby prize away from you. Barbara says, you're right. I put up blocks and I did it not too long ago. Just saying this is going to end, and then poof, it ended. That's it. That's what the light is. Once you see it and you acknowledge it and you articulate it in some way, it's got no power over you anymore. It's gone. Ha ha ha, thank you, Bobby. You're welcome. All right, well, anyway, nobody stole it anyway, so you still get the booby prize. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Daily Fuel will be back on Monday, and I'll see you around in the group. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.